History class was the subject I was least interested in during my middle school and high school years. If I were to sit for a history test with today's students, I would undoubtedly score 0. So, in today's video, introducing my trip to Xi'an, I would humbly choose the title as My Experiences and Observations in Xi'an, as this better reflects my modesty. First of all, the last time I visited Xi'an was about 46 years ago, in 1978, just before I entered college. The main purpose of that trip was to see the Terracotta Warriors, but I remember that what I truly had on my mind was the legendary cured beef and lamb. So, aside from the food, I honestly can't recall anything about Xi'an's local customs, cityscape, or appearance from that time. We got up at 5:30 in the morning and then took the 8 o'clock bullet train from Beijing West train station. By 12 o'clock at noon, we had arrived at Xi'an North Station. The moment we stepped out of the station, my eyes were immediately drawn to what I had been longing to see, the street vendors scattered everywhere. Such street vendors are almost non-existent in Beijing anymore. One of the elderly women at the station exit warmly thanked me as I was filming her. This left me both surprised and touched. My first impression of Xi'an, people here are incredibly friendly. Our friend Wunu in Xi'an came to the hotel to welcome us, bringing along a basket of local persimmons. These persimmons have a skin that is thinner than paper. When placed on the table, and are slightly larger than ping pong balls, they look as if they were perfectly drawn with a compass, their bright red color standing out. To eat them, you simply need to gently peel the skin from the top. Their sweetness is beyond imagination. I ended up eating 4 all at once. You can't buy these persimmons in Beijing. Even if you were to ship some that are only partially matured and let them ripen there, their taste would never compare to those that have naturally ripened on the tree here. As soon as we checked in at the hotel, we wasted no time and followed Wunu to Huimin Street, a famous pedestrian street in Xi'an. It's always packed with people, morning and evening. Wunu took us to a small, inconspicuous restaurant. It was she who seemed to understand us so well, knowing that after all the exhaustion from the long trip, a simple home-style meal would be the most satisfying. I ordered a bowl of dumplings and sour soup. The broth had a slight tanginess with a hint of spice, and the dumplings were filled with a mixture of meat and cabbage. The dumplings were truly delicious, but the soup was even better. I ended up drinking 2 bowls of it. When the check came, it was just 12 RMB for 18 dumplings per bowl. The price was very affordable. This is what locals pay in Xi'an. You might ask, was it worth traveling all the way to Xi'an just for dumplings? Well, I asked ChatGPT, and she listed the top 6 most popular and classic Xi'an dishes. Sour soup dumplings, lamb paomo, lamb soup with flatbread, rujiamo, Chinese hamburger, liangpi, cold skin noodles, cured beef and lamb, pomegranates. Now what do you think? Was it worth it? Over the next few days, I wandered through the streets of Xi'an whenever I could. I wanted to find words that accurately described this city, and I thought I had found them. The city truly lives up to its reputation as a tourist destination, a city that never sleeps. To my amazement, I discovered that the streets and alleys of Xi'an are filled with people dressed in various styles and colors of traditional Hanfu attire. The sheer number made me feel as if I had traveled back in time to that era. Even more surprising, these Hanfu enthusiasts weren't just young, attractive men and women. There were also elderly couples, grandfathers and grandmothers. And with their unique attire, they carried themselves with ease and confidence, as if to proudly declare to the world, this world belongs to them. In Xi'an, historical landmarks are everywhere, making it a city truly worthy of the title Ancient Capital. Take the wall, for example. Where else in the whole world can you find such a well-preserved ancient city wall? When you climb onto the wall, you'll see that it has a wide roadway on top, stretching approximately 12 kilometers. Visitors can cycle, stroll, sightsee, or fly a drone to take aerial photos and videos. As I strolled along the city wall and gazed at the scar-etched bricks, I felt the profound sense of history they carried and the stories they silently told. I heard that as the ancient capital of 13 dynasties, Xi'an was the center of China and even the world during the Qin, Han, and Tang dynasties. Closing my eyes, I tried to imagine the grandeur of the Tang dynasty, the bustling markets of Chang'an, the splendor of the imperial palace, and the merchants traveling along the Silk Road. I envisioned the mission of the wall. Built during the early Ming dynasty, it served not only as a defensive structure, but also as a symbol of power and order. Today it stands as one of the most well-preserved ancient city walls in China. I recalled the story of the Terracotta Warriors, originally created to guard the emperor's eternal rest. They have now become a shared treasure of all human civilization. I also heard that this was the starting point of the ancient Silk Road. From here, in ancient times when Xi'An was known as Chang'an, caravans embarked on their journeys, carrying silk, porcelain, and tea across the Gobi and vast deserts, spreading Chinese culture to the far corners of the world. Even in modern times, during the War of Resistance against Japan, the walls, alongside the soldiers who defended them, stood resolute against foreign invaders, safeguarding this land and enduring the tempests of history. As I gazed over the wall, both inside and out, I couldn't help but reflect on the passage of time. Even within a relatively short span of 46 years, people's lives have changed dramatically. Comparing the ancient streets, bustling markets, and lively temple fairs of the past to today's towering skyscrapers and dazzling nightscapes, I marveled at the journey of Xi'an's people. From an agrarian society to a thriving urban center, I quietly observed this scene, reflecting on the journey of my own life, while also looking forward to the future, allowing myself to fully immerse in the unique atmosphere of this city. At night, standing on the wall, I gazed up at the endless stars above and the thousands of lights illuminating Xi'an. In that moment, I was reminded once again of the vastness of the universe, the smallness of humanity, and the profound preciousness of life. Our plan for the next day was to visit the Terracotta Warriors. As I walked into the first exhibition hall, I was immediately among the sea of tourists. I had to make quite an effort to squeeze my way to the front, and then began snapping photos of the densely packed Terracotta Warriors in front of me. It was all so incredible. According to the tour guide, the Terracotta Warrior pits cover a total area of more than 20,000 square meters, containing over 8,000 soldier figurines, horse statues, chariots, and other burial items. It is the largest underground military formation in the world. Each Terracotta Warrior was crafted in life-size proportions, showcasing the powerful military strength of Emperor Qin Shi Huang's era. Remarkably, no two warriors share the same facial features. Their hairstyles, expressions, physiques, and clothing are all distinct. This highlights the extraordinary craftsmanship of the time and the attention given to individuality. Additionally, the craftsmanship of the Terracotta Warriors is quite complex. It is said that a segmented firing assembly technique was used in their creation. The clay figurines had to be fired at a high temperature of 1,200 degrees Celsius, with some even painted with bright colors. Scientists have tested the pigments on the surface of the Terracotta Warriors and found traces of lapis lazuli, a precious mineral from far-off Afghanistan. This suggests that the foreign trade during the Qin dynasty was thriving. The Terracotta Warriors before me represent just a small fraction of Emperor Qin Shi Huang's Grand Mausoleum, which spans an area of approximately 56 square kilometers. Historical records suggest that the tomb contains flowing rivers of mercury, countless treasures, and intricate mechanisms designed to safeguard it. Scientists speculate that these underground chambers are still well preserved. However, archaeologists are prevented from excavating most of the tomb because, once exposed to air, the terracotta figures quickly began to oxidize and lose their originally vibrant surface colors. For this reason, modern archaeologists are working tirelessly to develop techniques to preserve the vibrant colors of this ancient artwork. However, this process may take hundreds of years and require the efforts of multiple generations. It is likely that I may never witness it in my lifetime. Many suits of armor and weapons were unearthed alongside the Terracotta Warriors. Made entirely of bronze, some swords and daggers remain as sharp as new, thanks to the advanced corrosion-resistant techniques mastered by ancient craftsmen. Some may not know that in ancient China, people followed the belief of serving the dead as one serves the living. And this philosophy suggested that an emperor's authority and glory should last beyond death, making the tomb not just a burial place, but more like an underground eternal palace. Many ancient emperors began constructing their tombs soon after ascending to the throne, preparing for their afterlife. Qin Shi Huang was no exception. He sought immortality and believed that his tomb was not just a resting place for his body, but his eternal kingdom. Both historical records and archaeological discoveries tell us that in 247 BC, when Qin Shi Huang was only 13 years old and about to become the king of Qin, he ordered the construction of his tomb. The construction of the Qin Shi Huang mausoleum took over 40 years and was still incomplete by the time of his death. More than 700,000 workers were involved in its construction. At that moment, I suddenly thought of the farmer who discovered the Terracotta Warriors' tomb. Is he still alive? Or has he become wealthy from the discovery? The tour guide told me that the man, known as Yang, was truly an unsung hero. She said that 50 years ago, he was rewarded with only a few hundred RMB by the local government. She also pointed out the exact spot where old Yang had dug the well. I couldn't help but marvel. Qin Shi Huang, the emperor of the Qin dynasty who lived more than 2,200 years ago, whose achievements and flaws continue to stir debate to this day, was the ruler who unified the 6 warring states, established the first multi-ethnic China, and centralized power. He was the same emperor who implemented numerous far-reaching policies, such as standardizing writing, transportation, measurements, and currency, laying the foundation for ancient Chinese state governance. He was also the emperor whose greatest achievements included the construction of the Great Wall to defend against the northern Xiongnu threat, as well as vast palaces, roads and water projects aimed at unifying thought and consolidating power. And finally, he was the emperor who infamously burned books and buried scholars to eliminate dissent. It was he who created for future generations the unique and unparalleled ancient city of Xi'an. Its culture and history have drawn people from all over China and the world to visit and pay tribute. The people of Xi'an often say with pride, "We're all working for Qin Shi Huang," because the emperor in that tomb created countless job opportunities for Xi'an's residents, an impact that continues to this day. This is evident in the countless Terracotta Warrior souvenirs and ancient city refrigerator magnets found throughout the streets. And of course, the people of Xi'an would never forget old Yang, the farmer who discovered the Terracotta Warriors while digging a well. Here in Xi'an, people often say, "Thanks to the Communist Party for our rise, thanks to Qin Shi Huang for our prosperity, and thanks to old Yang for digging the well." Before leaving Xi'an, I made a concerted effort to buy what I had wanted. A terracotta warrior figurine, said to be made from kiln soil taken from the tomb of the Terracotta Army, but missing its 2 hands. I plan to take it back and have it restored myself. For those interested, stay tuned. My trip to Xi'an lasted a total of 4 days, with 1 day spent entirely traveling, making it a rather rushed journey. On the 3rd day, our destination was Mount Hua. We left the bell tower at 8 AM and boarded Metro Line 2. After a 40-minute ride, we arrived at Xi'an North Station, where we transferred to the high-speed train, which took only 28 minutes to reach Mount Hua. As soon as we exited the train station, we were immediately struck by the concerning weather. The sky was overcast, and it looked like a major rainstorm was brewing. At the entrance to the scenic area, we purchased our tickets to ascend the mountain. People over 60 years old receive a 20 RMB discount, so after the discount, the total cost for the 2 of us was only 700 RMB. The first step was to take a bus up the mountain. I thought it would only take a few minutes, but we ended up winding up the mountain road for 40 minutes. The scenery along the way was beautiful, with towering rocks, but unfortunately, the weather was overcast and mist hung in the air. Additionally, the bumps from the bus ride made it difficult to take any photos or videos. Finally, we arrived at the entrance to the Mount Hua scenic area. The weather remained gloomy and showed no signs of improving. We boarded the cable car, which took us soaring through the misty clouds. Suddenly, a mountain peak emerged on our left, only to disappear just as quickly. Then another massive rock formation loomed behind us, brushed past us in an instant, and vanished into the mist. We floated through the mist, surrounded by clouds. The peaks around us stood silently amidst the sea of clouds, sometimes glowing with rainbow hues as the sunlight refracted off them. Their outlines shifted between clear and hazy, appearing and disappearing, as if playing hide and seek with us, making us look left and right, overwhelmed by the ever-changing scenery. At that moment, we finally broke through the clouds, and we saw this bright burst of light. This wasn't just any mountain view. This was like stepping into a paradise on Earth. and all the worries we'd had about the weather before climbing now became totally unnecessary. And now, we were ready to start the real mountain climb. Looking back on the climb, I can only say that for someone in their 60s, every step was like a battle against gravity. But each time I looked up at the distant peaks, I couldn't help but push forward, as though the joy of each step was giving new strength to my legs. Although the steep mountain path left me breathless and my legs sore, every small stretch I conquered felt like a mini victory. Looking back, the sight of the sea of clouds gradually fading at the base of the mountain filled me with a deep sense of accomplishment. The greatest achievement for today was reaching the Xi'An peak, and despite the fact that there was still nearly 3/4 of the way to go until I reached the highest peak, the West Peak, I felt an immense sense of pride. Perseverance it took to get here, along with the breathtaking views, filled me with a sense of fulfillment. I realized that the true value of effort lies not just in the destination, but in the unforgettable moments of the journey itself. Especially during the descent, the soreness in my knees slowed me down to the pace of a snail. But it was precisely this slowness that made every step feel deeply etched in my memory. Before leaving Xi'an, I took one last stroll through the ancient city wall park. I noticed the vibrant green moss growing in the cracks between the bricks on the path I walked on. I couldn't resist and carefully dug up a few pieces, placing them in a plastic container I had brought along. Just as I started to worry that the park staff might stop me for disturbing the natural environment of the wall, I realized I was surrounded by a group of passers-by, curiously watching us dig. Then, I overheard one person whisper,
"They must be collecting samples for some lab experiments."
They had successfully mistaken us for archaeologists. How funny was that? And so, this trip to Xi'an concluded on a perfect note.